Now, the rest of the story.
Hey, welcome back. Well, I was asked, and I get asked that a lot, why we don't raise any other crops on our operation. Well, it's a lot of questions all in one. Why we don't raise any other crops? Are there any other crops we could be raising? Are corn and soybeans the only real crops we can really raise? Well, for this immediate area, it's really the only crop that is really available to us to really grow for a profit. Corn, soybeans is the big one. Alfalfa, if you want to say alfalfa is a cash crop. Wheat is also one that we could raise, but guys tend to do that as I think there was actually a government program there for a while that was giving the guys the incentive to put the wheat in, and then they were either trying to double crop soybeans into it, or they were using it to spread manure on after they harvested the wheat off. The problem I have with wheat, I don't know what we could actually produce per acre for it. I know it's not going to be very much, because in the area, from the people that do say that have raised wheat, 60 bushels to the acre is high end. And the problem is we really don't have very many markets locally that we can actually haul it to. The closest one that really comes to mind is about 35 miles away, and as far as I know, they're really not a very large elevator as far as being willing to take in a lot of wheat. I think they only take in a certain amount, or they only have a certain amount of storage available, just because wheat is not a very big crop that is grown in this area. I do know that a couple guys north of us that were doing wheat, I think they still do it, they actually haul theirs up to La Crosse, which I think is about 3 to 4 hours away, depending on who you are and where you're at. The problem is, even for us, if we really wanted to seriously look into it, putting in a bunch of wheat, by the time we put the crop in, sprayed it appropriately to make sure we didn't get any of the toxins in it or anything else like that, because wheat, you do have to spray at least 2 or 3 times with fungicide or whatever else to keep the weeds down and, like I said, all the toxins out of it. And then for how wet we are throughout June, that is kind of a concern. That's why you tend to see those crops growing out on the plains more, where they don't quite get as much moisture as you have up here. The actual window you have to harvest wheat and keep your protein level up, and it doesn't get overripe and actually starts to go down in quality. Your window really isn't that wide as far as being able to harvest wheat in a timely manner. And the problem is, for the basis that the elevator actually has, the one that's 35 miles away, between the basis and the trucking alone, I just can't see enough profit potential at the end of the day to justify planting any large amount of wheat acres. With corn, soybeans, well, in the past soybeans, we were able to go ahead and market them ahead of time and at least lock in some decent profits, like before we even plant the crop. I know a lot of people don't like marketing a crop before they actually have it in the ground. And point in case, a year like this, where we only have 40 acres of soybeans in the ground right now, that's a very valid point, because I just read today, every day past the 10th or the 15th, you're losing 2.2 bushels of potential yield. Well, how much you really want to believe in that, it all boils down to weather. But as far as planting wheat, not fully knowing what we could get yield-wise, it's still cash flows to put soybeans in at these prices. Same thing with corn. Corn is king. You hear that a lot on the news and everything else like that, different articles you read. Corn is a lot easier to raise. It responds to the inputs a lot better, especially with the way the prices are going right now. I think soybeans, they're well under $8 cash right now for this fall. And for corn is still hanging in there for now. We could go through and try to do cash crop alfalfa, raise dairy quality hay, first, second, third, and fourth crop. The only problem I have with that is because of the weather that we have in southwest Wisconsin, it is very difficult to be able to cut your alfalfa every 28 days to get that quality feed made. It's because of the weather. That guy over in Platteville, when I was helping him make his hay, that's exactly what it was. He was trying to get his hay cut every 28 days, and it's just because of the weather. It becomes a real challenge, especially to cut any sizable amount of acres and get it made. Like, by the time you cut it, rake it, bale it, chop it, whatever you're going to do with it, and get it put up dry without getting rained on, it's really difficult in this area of the country. June is a very wet month for us, and that can sometimes continue into July. Typically, July and August are our best haymaking months. We typically don't go into September anymore when it comes to making hay. We used to, back when the farms were at maximum capacity for the dairy operation, where every little hay plant was needed. Dad said there were many years there where they would make hay all summer starting June 1st, make hay all the way through September to the 1st of October, switch over, combine corn, and then after everything was frozen off and you don't have to worry about digging your hay crop, they would actually go out in November, and then they would either, back then I think it was chopping, they would go out and they would chop hay in November yet just to top off the silos. Simply because they were going through that much feed to get to June. There was a lot of cows around here, and I missed out on a lot of that. I was still pretty young yet. It's just a regional thing. We can't raise cotton, we can't raise peanuts. As far as sugar beets, potatoes, I should really rephrase that. It's not that we can't produce them. I mean, as far as wheat, yes, we can produce wheat, but you have to have a market readily available to take your crop to. I'm not even sure. I know there are some organic people in the area. I'm not really sure where the markets are. And the problem I'm hearing a lot about organic is that the organic market is flooded because everybody jumped over to that side of the boat when organic was such a big thing. Everybody was going to start doing organic and save the farm because that was where all the money was going to be at. But the problem is, farmers are kind of notorious for this, is that when one person is making good money doing something like that, everybody else seems to jump on board and ends up sinking the whole ship. At least that's my opinion, especially when it comes to talking about organic. Otherwise, I was hearing more about people are starting to get away from organic and going back to the conventional crops. I don't know. You just wouldn't get me doing organic. I prefer farming the way we are. Well, the thing is about alfalfa, let me say this real quick. I know a guy who is starting to, he's on his second year making dairy quality hay. He's making hay to sell, to bring in some extra cash. Well, he busted his butt last year making some really nice, really high quality alfalfa dairy hay. Well, the problem is that he also had some waterways. You guys see what I do? I cut the waterways and process that and bale that up for feed too. Well, he was selling all of his dairy hay at local sales, hay auctions and that. He was spreading it out over several weeks. He wasn't just trying to take everything all at once. He ended up taking in a load or two of that grassier, lower quality hay that, it was like essentially heifer hay, You're not going to feed it to your dairy cows. And he called me up kind of annoyed because he said that he was asking me, hey, what do you think that lower quality hay went for? I don't know. I don't like really trying to guess stuff too often on that, because you're typically, when people ask you a question like that, it's usually a loaded question. Well, he's like, well, I'll tell you what, he says, I won't tell you what it went for, but I'll tell you that it went for 20 to 30 bucks a ton better than my high quality dairy hay. And that's kind of irritating. It's not something you really count on, that the grassier stuff is going to go for better than the dairy hay, but it's kind of aggravating when the stuff that you really weren't able to produce, like on a high quality basis that was going towards the local dairy guys. The stuff that is essentially just crud hay that you made it because it was there, actually sold better than the high quality stuff. Kind of irked him just a little bit, and I completely understand because it's a hassle. It's really nerve-wracking trying to make decent hay when you are looking at this all summer and you're trying to time it right so you can get it cut, raked, baled, and put up. I mean, we don't wrap anything. We put everything in the buildings, which you can't really see it. But we got sheds out there. We got sheds down at my place. We have storage space out at my brother's place. That is also why you don't really catch us doing big square bales too often, because for us, especially in June, we really are making hay between the rain showers, as in we're waiting for it a day after it rains. When the ground starts to firm up, we'll go out, we'll cut it, ted it, let it go as long as we possibly can before we're potentially going to be getting rained on again, rake it up, and then I'm usually running to get all the hay made, baled up, round baled up, before the next rainstorm. Basically, every time we make hay anymore, that's all it is you're trying to get it rolled up before it gets rained on. At least when it's in a bale and it's got that net wrap on it with 2 or 3 wraps around it, it does give it a little bit of protection as far as it allows it to shed off any of the moisture that it collects. So, yeah, as far as the crops we can raise around here, corn, soybeans, we can raise alfalfa, but we'd rather raise just the amount of hay that we need for ourselves, not counting on it. Not producing a bunch of alfalfa with the intention of trying to sell it for a profit. I mean, I'd rather produce the amount of hay that we can and walk it off the farm on our own cattle. I say there's no market for cotton, any of those other southern crops. I'm glad for you guys that are south of us that have multiple different options for the crops that you can raise. It is a pretty common theme up here where we all wish that we could raise more than just 2 real cash crops. So yeah, it is what it is. So with that, you guys want a quick update with everything that's going on. We haven't planted anything else yet, but everything has been gone through. All we have to do is put fuel in both of the machines. The big machine behind me, the 4640, needs the globe put back on it. The planter is basically primed and ready to run. It's been greased, and I sprayed the lubricant all over the chains. The chains are good to go. The goal is maybe potentially tomorrow. It has been sprinkling on and off all day today, but not enough to really amount to anything. So hopefully here the planting videos are going to be coming on pretty strong here, because I'm going to try to get all the footage that I can get in a timely manner. So with that, take care, take it easy, keep in touch. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.